Welcome. Let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolutely incredible, emotional, and honestly cosmic journey embedded in the poem Lamps of Hope in the Midnight Sky. We're literally going to map out the geography of a love so profound it escapes the confines of a single room and demands the entire universe as its canvas. Now, right off the bat, we hit this beautiful line, Asha Hoan Ke Da Jalakar Ratme, or lighting lamps of hope in the midnight sky. And what's really interesting here is that this serves as the beating heart of the entire text. It's the anchor for the speaker's deep devotion. It operates almost like a rhythmic pulse, you know? Every time the dark night threatens to just overwhelm the speaker with loneliness, these words return to guide them back to the light. Which leads us to a pretty massive question. How do you actually measure a love that stretches from the borders of our dreams all the way to the edges of the universe? That's the core puzzle the poet is trying to solve for us here. How do you quantify an emotion that feels infinitely large? So to figure that out, let's follow their journey from the quiet isolation of a bedroom directly out into the vast, expanding cosmos. Section 1. Longing in the Night, the Internal World of Waiting. So the text immediately establishes this baseline of relentless waiting. The poet says, Chahu tumko main shamo suba, zina tumko dekhu main har suba. Basically, I desire you morning and evening. I want to see you every morning. It establishes this continuous day-to-night cycle where the nights are just filled with anticipation. The restless desire is quite literally keeping them awake as they beg their lover to enter their dreams. Khwabo mein aakar tum mujhko bula lo na. They just yearn to close that distance. And looking at this, notice the brilliant central visual metaphor the poet strikes here. On one side, we have the heavy elements of the night, right? The waiting, or intizar, the restless dreams, the isolating silences. But then, actively pushing back against them are these forces of light, the lamps of hope, the bright illuminated eyes of the beloved, and the glowing stars. The poet is constantly contrasting that dark isolation of waiting against the luminous hope that keeps the love alive. But that brings us to a critical threshold. As this longing grows too large for just quiet nights and restless dreams, the walls of the room, well, they're just not enough anymore. So where do you look when love outgrows the physical world? Section 2, a cosmic search, expanding to the universe. This is where things get really expansive. The speaker's desires grow so much that they literally begin searching through astronomical charts. They say, Dungdu kitabome, exploring books to find Graha Nakshatra, which means planets and constellations. Because honestly, looking for their love on Earth just isn't cutting it anymore. And it expands even further to this incredible word, Brahmand, the universe itself. They are no longer just dreaming in bed. Their thoughts are actively projecting into the infinite cosmos. The poem beautifully describes this as Dil ke khagol mein, an actual astronomy of the heart. It's like a giant puzzle they are trying to piece together in the stars. So look at these actions. The seeker is anything but passive here. They are actively marshaling the power of the stars, exploring the depths of the mind, and projecting their thoughts into the universe to somehow quantify their feelings. It is a wildly dynamic pursuit of connection. But the absolutely crucial point here revolves around one specific word, ibadat, which translates to worship or profound devotion. By vowing to do ibadat for their beloved, the speaker completely elevates this text from a simple romance to a deeply spiritual, almost reverent devotion. The beloved has essentially become a cosmic destination. And the poet just masterfully juxtaposes these two extremes. We see a love rooted in the tiny, fragile rhythm of a heartbeat and quiet dreams. And that is instantly contrasted with a love that spans the infinite, swirling expanse of stars and the universe. I mean, it is a breathtaking scale of emotion. Section 3. Finding the answers, the intimate resolution. Okay, so what actually happens when you cast your heart into the cosmos? Well, the universe answers back. The poet writes, Mil gaya javabwo, those answers were found. After all those long nights of questions, of stargazing and cosmic searching, they finally yield an answer. But here is the beautiful twist of the poem. Those cosmic answers, they weren't up in the distant stars at all. They were found by looking directly into the glowing, illuminated eyes of their lover. Teklia tere mango, rasha nigahin tere yachin. I saw your mind, your bright, illuminated eyes. The entire universe they were desperately searching for was actually just a mirror reflecting their beloved's gaze. This brings us to the ultimate climax of the journey. The seeker finds the answers in her eyes, completely forgets the outside world just to be together, and turns the heavy silence of the night into words. It shifts brilliantly from quiet, isolated dreaming to bold, declared certainty, ultimately building toward a vow to write her name in the stars. Which brings us to Section 4, Lighting Lamps of Hope, the final vow. Those silent waiting nights from the very first stanza we looked at, they have now been completely transformed. The poet says, "Khamoshiyon ko lafzon mein bharkar," filling the silences with words. The isolation is totally broken, replaced entirely with the joyful songs and words of their love. And then we get this magnificent, sweeping declaration. Tera naam sitaro mein likh du, let me write your name among the stars. The speaker pulls the universe back down into their hands, vowing to write their lover's name into the very stars they searched earlier. They're literally claiming the cosmos as a monument to their devotion. And finally, the poem brings us full circle, right back to this phrase, "Ashaon ke diye jalakar raat mein." It reminds us that for all the grand talk of planets and the vast universe, it was actually these simple, internal lamps of hope that guided them through the dark. By keeping that small light burning, they eventually found the dawn. So what does this all mean for us? As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to ask yourself, what serves as your own lamp of hope in the dark? And if you had to write just one name among the stars to make it permanent in the cosmos, whose name would it be? Keep that light burning. Thank you so much for joining me today.